didn't really know where to go in terms of like expressing myself. I was gonna write this in like a post on like my blog, but I was like, kind of want to just speak about it maybe. Um, there's a lot of obvious civil unrest, especially in the Black community, but that's always been the case. And I think people don't realize that like a civil war is starting. A civil war is upholding right now. And, people were always under the impression that racism was dead. It's never been dead. Um, I remember when like my grandfather was telling me about his work during the civil rights movement. Um, he was in Louisiana, he was also in Georgia. It was really difficult. You can't even imagine, but there are people that had to do certain things in order to survive, just to survive. And today, yeah, we have a different perspective where we are now intercorrelated without that segregation factor into things like corporate or just normal restaurants where you don't have to think about if you have to sit on the black side or the white side. I think people essentially they don't want to be unruly or like destructive, but they also don't want to be like our ancestors who are more passive. But the thing is that in the past, it worked more so because it was able to showcase that we aren't the problem, it was the police. And now there's institutional racism that's been built and baked into this country, but it's never gone away. More importantly, things like cancer, Cancer Alley in Louisiana, it has a bunch of black neighborhoods built all around that alley, and nothing but pollution is there. And COVID-19 has like exposed a lot of these problematic scenarios and areas where COVID-19 is prominent, and people don't want to believe. They're just like, oh, it's not COVID-19, it's not this. It is deeply baked to this country. And there's gerrymandering, there's gentrification. Like, nobody really is understanding that there is a problem. A lot of times, even when it comes to housing, people of color have issues getting houses, mostly because of the fact that they are sometimes looked at as an issue, and they try to raise the amount that it would take for them to purchase the house. And it's mostly to keep them out of the neighborhood, which is very unfair considering that if they have the money, they should be able to get it. It's just crazy. I think people don't understand like what it's like to be black in America, or just any person of color. It's not just being black. I mean, being Asian can also have its downfalls in America. There's always stereotypes, and now like the Trump is pushing COVID-19 as a Chinese virus. Like, who does that? There's no excuse. But for some reason, he keeps getting excuses. What's even worse is how he is making the country look as a representative of the country to other countries who don't subscribe to dictatorship, who don't subscribe to his way of thinking or his way of attacking people. And nobody's doing anything about it. He was impeached, and yet he still is in office. Like, it's ridiculous. I had no clue that was actually a thing. I'm just, the interesting part is I actually didn't get into, I didn't get into politics until he got elected to president. The first time I voted was actually for Barack Obama, and I believe I was 18 or 19. And, at the time, I didn't really consider voting to be an asset that I should be practicing or right I should be practicing. And that's unfortunate. But I realized that the only reason why I thought my vote didn't count is because of the Electoral College, but also because people will constantly try to say that to people like myself who know that I would never vote for that side of the room. I would never vote for the GOP. And because of that, if they have less people who are willing to go out and vote, then they have more of a chance to win. And that's why they're afraid of mail in voting. That's why they don't want people to do it, because when the turnout for Barack Obama happened, like, clearly it was a huge landslide. There was no question, no question. Everyone was like, oh, I'm going out there. They didn't care if they thought their vote didn't count. They just did it. They were just like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do what it is to get this man elected. Like, people were so political out of nowhere. It was great. Even young people like myself, like, were out here trying so hard to get him elected. Now you have Trump, and it's like, Jesus, like. But then you also have Russia, and they're involved so deeply. They know that we have civil unrest about a lot of different issues, and they've been using their bots to essentially come in and destroy the country from within. They just took each piece that was problematic and destroy it. And the main thing is that Trump is helping. And I can't really I can't completely. I mean, I can't blame the guy. Don't get me wrong. He's definitely fuck him. He's in a scenario, I feel like, where he's like that kid that everyone makes fun of, and he's like, I'll show you type of thing. And it's like, people have been bullying him, but like for good reason. I would see, him to be an idiot, really, but you know, practicing compassion towards your enemies is another thing too. Um, I think he's just on guard. I think if he had it where he if people could come to him and kind of treat him in a way that maybe he'll feel less like he's on guard. He can kind of let his facade down and maybe admit that he's wrong and try to do something right. I only know this because I know someone like that, and my approach usually is to try and, yes, unfortunately, treat them like a child, but also kind of put in perspective, um, to say things in a certain way that kind of puts them at ease and puts them less at guard. Because a lot of times you don't want to be seen as wrong, and you don't want to be seen as incorrect, even though you are. And, a lot of times, if you don't have that mental capacity or capability to be at a mind that it's not an attack on you per se, or it is because, these constructive reasons, some people just can't handle criticism well in a constructive way, and sometimes he's probably not getting that as well. And then there are also the enablers, people who just keep giving him things, probably because they're scared. He probably has the ability to blackmail a lot of the GOP. Chances are that's why they won't speak. I think that's the most gangster thing you could ever know. It's just like, I'm a blackmail the fuck out of you, so you have to stay in my corner, or else. That's unfortunate. I really wish things would get better. I don't like that this is happening, obviously, and especially during COVID-19, when a lot of people of color are being affected, and in most cases it's because of the environments that they're staying in, and because of the gerrymandering and all these other factors are built into the equation, and we don't have a plan and we don't have an idea when this is going to let up. I have not left my place except for to go to the grocery store, like, and the mailbox. Like, I haven't seen anybody, and I do miss my friends and my family, but I'm considering, their health, and, some of them have conditions. Like, my mother has to get surgery. I don't want to have to make her feel uncomfortable before then. But I don't even personally, with me, with how things have been going, like I've been trying to help those that I can through Cash App, or, listening or trying to be there, and definitely revolting. Like, I've been built for the resistance since like the beginning. Like my family is just built with resistance people. And especially because my mom and her family are from Jamaica, and we don't take that shit lightly, but we do have a way to do it, but we just don't. And my other grandfather, the one from Jamaica, he would say an eye for an eye. However, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind, and that's where MLK was probably coming into play. I understand, like, people's protests will get violent. However, sometimes it's warranted, especially if it's like you're being attacked. If you're being attacked, you can't, like, there's just so much that you can take, I think, before you're like, I can't just sit here and let a dog, eat me alive, or like, a fire hose go off and hit you and break your bones. Consider that you can't really go to the hospital, and if you do, like, it's gonna be very difficult, considering that cases keep rising. We're at 100K for deaths in COVID-19. That's crazy. That's crazy. If anyone's watching this, we're trying to do a blackout where we don't purchase anything on July 7th. People don't realize it, but a lot of people of color do make up a lot of what capitalism is in America, especially Black people. We buy so much things, and part of it is because you want to look a certain way, which is to look like, yeah, like we have money. But most times it's because of the impression that was given off in the 60s when people were dressing up in their Sunday best. If you look good, chances are people won't treat you a certain way, and it does sometimes have a pricey tag attached to it. However, it's just kind of like, if you look a certain way, if you look like you even have money, then chances are they'll treat you different. And unfortunately, that's where we're at. People will get upset that, like, they have to almost shell out extra thousands of dollars to look like they should be respected versus just being respected. But more importantly, you have people who are like, you have white people who essentially would dress down like they're near homeless, but millionaires. And it's like, it doesn't matter what they look like, because they'll still get the respect that they essentially think their privilege deserves. Versus if someone comes as a Black person, dressed down, chances are they're probably not gonna get the same respect, just by half. I remember when we had went to Bali, and it was almost like they were surprised, because my boyfriend, he's actually a lot darker than I am, and obviously I'm not white. But you know, they were marketing more towards white and European, predominantly white Europeans. Now, even white Americans is white Europeans. Um, and it was very unsettling. You know, I heard great things about Bali, and it was like, oh my god! But you know, they promote skin lightening there, and more importantly, they're when they promote things for tourism, it's not with like different kinds of people. They only care about white European people, and it's like, okay, um, you know, it's so interesting because nowhere America has no idea that how they treat their people and how they promote their people as a country and in a sense of, you know, is how other people in other countries see us. So if people are watching TV or listening to music, like for example, when we were in Bali, they always kept mentioning white entertainers, like people who did music or like TV shows, and they're like, "Did you see that? Do you hear? I love this person." I'm like, "Yeah, that's great." And then like, but if you ask them about someone who's black, they're like, "Huh? Who?" Like, okay, that's the unsettling part, and that is, you know, when I went, there was a time when I had went to Japan. I think it was like my second time. Um, they there was someone who was like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "Africa." I was like, "What? I'm from America." They're like, "Huh, huh." I was like, "What is it that people are watching?" But it's just that's how that's how small of like the scope people don't understand is that like there is so much misrepresentation not only in America but like around the world. People are thinking that America is just white. It's the same argument that people were like saying that Ariel couldn't be black because she's Danish. Well, guess what? There's Danish black people too. So you know, some cases it's like it's terrible representation across different countries, but because of that, people don't realize black people get terrible treatment not just from Americans but from other countries because of how America sets the stage. There was like this Chinese or South Korean um, advertisement that this black person was in, and they put him in a washing machine, washed him, and then the guy came out, but he was Korean, and it was basically suggesting that he was dirty. That's not the first time I've seen an advertisement like that. That's ridiculous though. That is how other countries portray and base their treatment of black people off of. And it's like, are you kidding? Like, yeah, America may not be so bold, but they have been. They've been really bold, like with H&M and their monkey shirt on the black boy, or Dove. What? Some there's some point where enough is enough, and I think that America as a whole, well, majority, because it's really not whole. If it was a whole, then I think we'd get better results. You know what I mean? GOP. Um, we're just tired, and I think whoever comes across this will hopefully understand that we're scared. We're always scared. Even I'm scared. Even though I'm light skinned, I am scared. I'm scared for me, for being a double minority. I am scared for my boyfriend for going out, and he's introverted, and you know, but he's still a target. He's still a target. Do you know how long it took for us to actually be able to feel comfortable wearing our natural hair to go to work? Why is that? So why do I have to fit in to a model that is not my own? And even if I straightened my hair, which I used to, then I was considered Hispanic. So then what? Did I not still fit in? You still have these employment applications that want to accurately gather information about your race and your gender and all this other stuff, and it feels very um, it feels very intrusive. Sometimes I don't even put a race down, which I feel like will hurt my chances for getting a job. Sometimes I put two or more races because of the way I look and the way that my background has been built from like Jamaica and Europe and dad and Creole and all this stuff. You know, sometimes like um it's just I don't know what I'm supposed to say on applications for something like that. And then when it comes to gender, then it gets more complicated because I'm more so into IT. If I put female, if I adopt that, I'm going to mark what I am, which I mean, I guess based off my name, they should know that I'm female. How much are they going to judge me? How much are they going to try to limit my paycheck or my ability to get hired? And the fact that I have to subscribe to both telling them my gender and my race, potentially just so I could check off a box without them actually considering things like my skill sets. That's something that people don't understand. Some people are like, oh, you're lucky. No, I'm actually not. I'm actually really not lucky. I'm not. Because um, I have to fight even when I get into the job itself. Like currently, I am a double minority where my position had initially been recently created, and I am so disrespected. And I don't have any really any support. Um, and I'm pretty sure if I was male, by the very least, by 50% of things that cause disrespect for me, if I was at least male, I know that by that portion, that I would at least have some respect. Maybe not a lot, but just some. And it's a lot difficult, when you are both things that people don't want, and then they try to stereotype you somehow. Do you know how many times I have to be asked, what are you? That's very intrusive. It's very disrespectful. You can't ask me, you shouldn't ask anyone, what are they? I am human. And a lot of times I used to feel obligated to answer that question, but I didn't realize it was based upon the fact that they were trying to be racially charged with their question to see how they should treat me, how they should identify me, how they should put me in a box. So, all this to say is, I really hope that voting will do the trick to get him out and that we don't have another 4 years of this. But I'm really disappointed in people like the GOP. I've never really had a huge issue. I mean, I've had issues with them in general because obviously, like, they're predominantly racist. But, this definitely puts the nail in the coffin. And I really wish people would see that and kind of recognize that that's not the type of behavior you would want to attach yourself to. That's not the type of behavior that you're going to want to be remembered as. Because as Hitler and his people had been going through the same shit, all of a sudden the ones that were for Hitler were just having amnesia. Like, oh, I don't remember being for him. Oh, I didn't mean it. I was just going. No, you have a choice. You have a voice. Use it. Do something about it. Vote. Get out there. Help people. Have the conversation. If anything, if you are white and you are watching this, or if you are a person of color and you are racist towards black people or any other person of color, have a conversation. Talk to them.